Could you name one or two?
I think Joe Clark. Although he was Prime Minister for a very short period of time, he was Foreign Affairs Minister for a longer period of time. And I got to work with Mr. Clark very closely because I was writing some of his speeches on the foreign policy side and actually was the drafter of the government's foreign policy there. I saw him reaching out and caring. Let me give you an example. We had been under pressure to produce a statement for the House of Commons on what Canadian foreign policy was to be. And we worked very hard on it, and I was the key drafter behind the scenes, and we had to have it ready for a particular cabinet meeting that was going to approve it before Mr. Clark would speak about it in the House of Commons. Well, it came down to the Monday night before the Wednesday cabinet meeting, and I had suggested on the weekend that he take the final draft home, because there had been 13 drafts prior to that, and have a look at it, make sure that he was really comfortable with everything that was there in total. And he came back on Monday morning and said, "Sorry, I just didn't have time to look at it on the weekend, but I'll look at it tonight." Well, he came back in on Tuesday and said, "Didn't have time tonight either. But I've got a dinner with Mr. Shevardnadze from Russia tonight, and after the state dinner, we'll have an opportunity to look at it." So I told my staff, okay, no one goes home tonight, because if the minister wants any changes, we're going to have to negotiate these with 9 other government departments, potentially. It would have to be translated into French and be ready for the next day. Well, I get a call at 7:15. And someone had taken a note that Mr. Clark had written and said, "Don, sorry, the dinner's going later than I expected, and I'm not going to be able to look at it tonight. We'll postpone." Now, think of it. Here is a man in a state dinner who is not just thinking about what he's doing in the state dinner, he's thinking about a little minion like me and his staff back who are ready to serve him and to write this and saying, "You can go home." And it was the first time in 2 weeks that I was able to go home for supper. It was a little late, but that was the kind of person that you said, I want to work for him and I want to really serve him. And I could give you many examples of that, but that is one.
Yeah, showing concern for people who by most would consider to be not really on the radar screen right now. I'm with a leader of Russia. Let's talk about a third of the way into your book. You give a fairly comprehensive list of what you call characteristics of a servant leader. And we've already covered what a servant leader is, but you make a point right off the top that a servant leader focuses on people and relationships first, not on the task at hand, not on the due process or the protocols, but on the relationship. Why is that so important?
It's important because nothing can be accomplished in leadership without relating well to the people who are going to enable you as a leader to accomplish what collectively you're doing. I put it down to what I call the RPR formula, and that's taken out of Jesus in Matthew chapter 10 and his examples. Most leaders are connected to producing results. Every leader has to produce results, whatever they may be, in terms of dollar bottom line or in terms of services or number of people who have been healed, whatever it may be. There is a bottom line result. However, you can produce the results in many different ways. Manipulation, force, intimidation are some of the poorer what it means. And processes become important, particularly for Christians, because the processes are where the ethics come in. And is this an ethical way to do this? But you can have great processes to produce the results, but it won't happen unless you have good relationships with the people that you're working with.
So results, process, relationships.
That's it. And relationships are key to an organization succeeding. Every servant-led organization that I know of focuses on a culture of caring about people from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top.
How do you coach a leader who says, in a moment of transparency, "Don, I hear what you're saying, but I am not relationally gifted. I'm an introvert, I'm this, I'm that, I'm shy, whatever. How do I cultivate relationships when I just want to avoid them?"
I think they have to see, first of all, the benefit, because if they see the benefit, then they're going to want to change. And I recognize that their natural personality is not something that makes it easy for them to relate. But they can learn the basics of just smiling, of saying hello to people. Instead of walking through the lobby in the morning and just ignoring people, walking in and saying hello, getting to know their names. All of that makes a connection that is important in terms of the organization's
Well, you know,
function.
just getting to know someone's name is so important, right?
Absolutely.
Time and again, I hear people say, well, you know, he remembered my name. I'm thinking, well, no kidding. Let's move on here. One of your points, they have a vision. Vision is critical for leadership.
Yes. Because vision is where the organization is going to go. And it's critical because everything is oriented then towards that direction. And the vision comes not because some individual dreams about it some night, but rather is endorsed by the people in the organization. So it's something that they all buy into when they join the organization or business.
I'm a real sports fan, and I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl in a few weeks. But you know, I played football in high school and university. You can't have a football game if you don't have a vision for a touchdown.
Yes.
I mean, you've got to have your eye on that end zone, right?
Absolutely, and keep it on that with everything that you're doing.
Yeah. In fact, Kathy and I were talking about this, and we were looking at Brett Favre, who got so beat up on the weekend in his game against the New Orleans Saints. And I said, well, you know, tomorrow morning he'll have a hard time getting out of bed. And I could relate to that because I remember many times the morning after a game, hardly able to get out of bed. But the point is, during the game, you're so focused on the end game, on the end zone, that you're taking all these hits and you don't even notice it, because it's the vision that has really got your attention. Just a couple minutes left, and I'm just summarizing a few points here. You have several pages of the qualities and characteristics of a servant leader, but two real quick. One, they inspire trust, and then another one, they're vulnerable and self-effacing. And as I was reading it, I thought, you know, inspiring trust and being vulnerable and self-effacing are very much related. Why is it we trust people who are vulnerable? Trust people who say, you know what, I've been there, done that, and I understand.
They're honest to begin with, and they're open, and recognizing that they make mistakes themselves, as does everyone else. Therefore, out of those mistakes, we can learn to do it better. And that needs to be the focus constantly of leadership. How can we do it better the next time? The leader needs to be bringing people back to say, it can be better and different.
Now, before we go, you got to tell me a little bit about this. You mentioned to me in the green room that you're involved in developing and cultivating leaders in China, Christian leaders in China.
Yes.
Brief précis, what's up with that?
Well, there has been so many new converts in China to Christianity, but they do not have a background in how to live their Christian faith out or to find leadership within their house churches and other organizations. And so they came to us at Trinity Western University because of our leadership program and said, would you come and help us to understand what it means to be a Christian servant leader? And we want to incorporate that into building the churches in China for the future, because even the government announced last year that there are now 130 million Christians in China, but there is no leadership development.
The government actually acknowledged that.
They acknowledged that for the first time.
I mean, that's a major step forward.
Yes, and the government is consulting Christians about how that leadership should be put into place because they admire the ethics of Christian leadership.
So your study and work may end up providing some of the DNA of nation building over there. Who knows?
Well, I hope so, and the book is already being translated into Mandarin.
Well, there you go. The book is called Servant Empowered Leadership, Friends. The author is Dr. Don Page from Trinity Western University. A fascinating man. We need to have you back again, Don, and just carry on. This is a great conversation. Thanks for coming our way.
Thanks, Jim.